Usually, I wouldn't be too scared of SCPs from dimensions not accessible to us. Like, if they're from another dimension, they probably can't do anything to me because, well, they're in another dimension. What are they gonna do? Menacingly act in a way I could never understand from across a barrier of time and space that is incomprehensible to human beings? However, sometimes they decide that it's time to cross over, and that's when things get really weird. Usually, they'll just disregard any laws of nature we've decided are true in our world and can go about mucking everything up as best they can. And that's when things get really scary. Hello, horror heads, and welcome back to the scariest channel on YouTube, Top 5 Scary Videos. I'm your horror host, Keegan Hughes, and today we're gonna be taking a look at the top 5 scary SCP creatures from other dimensions. Before we get to the list, however, we've got an exciting message from this video's sponsor, Shudder. That's right, we've got a wicked offer from the premier horror streaming service. If you're a fan of scary movies, then Shudder is the service for you. Provocative, evocative, and dangerous, folks love to interact with Shudder in all sorts of ways, from communicating with its many social media channels to racking up all sorts of wild reviews, to receiving members-only perks like exclusive content and VIP screenings. There's an unbelievable amount of awesome stuff that comes with a subscription to Shudder. Stream as much horror as you can handle on all of your favorite devices for the low price of $5.99 a month or $56.99 per year. Enjoy a variety of hand-selected flicks ranging from cult classics to exclusive originals. I recently watched the mind-bending cosmic terror The Beach House and really enjoyed it. Plus, there's a new conference call horror out called Host that actually gets it right. I'm looking at you, unfriended. To try Shudder free for 30 days, head to shudder.com and enter the promo code TOP5. What are you waiting for? Give it a go today. Wicked. All right, let's get on down to our list. Coming in at number 5, we've got SCP-3008. The concept behind 3008 alone is worth talking about, but the more you delve into it, the scarier it becomes. SCP-3008 is an infinite interdimensional IKEA full of bloodthirsty sales associates and never-ending Swedish meatballs. If that doesn't sell you on the idea, well, you might be watching the wrong video. Right. What appears to be a regular abandoned IKEA actually turns out to be a portal into a strange pocket dimension of sorts. Anyone who strolls through those big sliding front doors will be teleported into 3008-1 or the pocket dimension itself. Usually what ends up happening is that someone will walk in thinking it's a regular IKEA, peruse for a little bit, end up hopelessly lost, and then realize that they're in danger a little too late. The thing about this IKEA is that it doesn't end. Like, nobody's been able to find any sort of end point or barrier. It just keeps going and going. No visible walls, just aisle after aisle after aisle. It seems as though many folks have found their way into this IKEA one way or another, but not all of them are from our world. No, it appears to attract people from all sorts of different realities. Folks who have found each other in this IKEA-verse seem to have contradicting stories about the reality they come from. So does this IKEA act as a bridge between worlds? It's hard to say. What we do know, though, is that living in IKEA land is terrifying. The store follows a pretty standard day-night cycle where at closing time each day, the lights will go out and strange, faceless IKEA employees will accost anyone they see. They'll let you know that the store is closed, and if you don't dip immediately, they will rip you apart. Sure, you can kill these strange beings, but they'll just keep coming back, laying siege upon any fortifications humans may have set up. A few folks have found their way out of the IKEA, but it seems to be more luck than anything. And for whatever reason, folks had entered from a particular reality exit into the correct one. Let's just be careful while going furniture shopping, okay? I hear they do home delivery pretty well these days. Coming in at number 4, we've got SCP-507. This is a classic. A man of many names and many places visited, SCP-507 is a human who unwillingly teleports to a random dimension pretty regularly. This sounds cool in theory, but usually puts him in very immediate danger. 507 himself isn't the scary SCP creature from another dimension, but he's met so many of those that it would be impossible not to include him on this list. In his misadventures, he's encountered a wide array of realities that would probably wreck the mind of a weaker individual. He's experienced such immense pains and pleasures that I would imagine living on plain old planet Earth feels a little underwhelming to him. He's come into contact with breathing, fungus-riddled corpses that writhe around on the ground. He's come face to face with more spiders than any person should ever have to deal with. He found the ever-popular Smiling Man, complete with suit, sunglasses, and eventually awful liquid. Literally anything you could imagine, he's probably had to stare it down. Sounds like one hell of a life, doesn't it? Like I said earlier, this really shouldn't be scary to anyone other than 507 because these things only exist in other universes. However, if he somehow comes into contact with something at the exact moment that he phases between universes, that thing will come with him. He could hypothetically bring back toxic house cats or a wolf that likes to fatten up and eat humans. The chances are slim, but I don't necessarily want to take that gamble. Coming in at number 3, we've got SCP-213. As if teenagers weren't terrified terrifying enough. If you were to read this entry top to bottom, you likely wouldn't assume that it was from another dimension. At first, you're introduced to an adolescent who has the ability to vaporize things seemingly at will. By severing the bonds between the atoms of anything that he comes in contact with, he can disintegrate pretty much anything within grabbing range. He accidentally disintegrated his girlfriend, his mom, and a whole lot of folks from the Foundation. However, doing so causes him immense physical pain and tires him out. So while largely dangerous, it would be hard for 213 to escape now that he's being held at a Foundation site. Here's the thing though, this vaporization power didn't just show up out of the blue. It came in with the help of a dimension-hopping parasite. Foundation researchers discovered some weird nodes on the boy's body and decided to investigate further. What they found was confusing and fascinating. It seems as though a strange parasitic infection has found its way into the poor boy's body. This creature, or possibly collection of creatures, can observe what's going on outside of him through the incisions in his skin. Removing this unknown creature has proven to be quite difficult though, thanks to the whole severing of atomic bonds and all. He can be kept at bay through use of ranged weaponry, but to go in and attempt surgery would be suicide. For now, they're keeping the host lad in a coma and watching out for any abnormal behavior by the explosive parasite from another world. Coming in at number 2, we've got SCP-1322. All I can say about this one is, whoops. At some point during the 50s, an interdimensional wormhole of sorts was discovered. Soon, the beings on the other side started communicating. After a little while, the Foundation and the folks on the other end started sharing information relevant to arts and culture in a mutual effort to understand each other. However, it seems as though some harmless flu variant from our world made it into the next. What might be harmless in our dimension could be catastrophic in another, and that's exactly what happened. The bug killed plenty and rendered many more infertile. In doing so, it essentially doomed the corresponding society. The folks over there were none too happy about this. Rather than simply severing ties, they swore revenge, and revenge they did attempt. Over the next little while, they fired high-intensity beam weapons through the hole, attempted to detonate nuclear devices, and even sent deadly nanobots to our world. They really want the humans of our dimension dead, and who could blame them? We were careless and doomed them all. Why not accept a little doom on our end? And finally, at number 1, we've got SCP-1730. What happened to Site-13? It's a question all sorts of Foundation folk would love the answer to. It's not a simple query though. Plenty went on here to cause all sorts of catastrophic damage. Plus, it's the spawning point for all sorts of gooey SCP-based abominations. It's tough to fully explain exactly what went on at Site-13, but I'll do my best to elaborate in very simple terms. It seems as though there are many other Foundations and many other universes. There are noticeable differences between these organizations, with the version that spawned Site-13 being a little less morally upright than our Foundation. It's a low bar to start with, I know. So in this alternate universe Foundation, a bunch of anomalies were being kept at the so-called Site-13. The director decided that it was cool to torture and then dispose of these anomalies they kept here in the name of science, which made him quite unpopular among those being contained. These anomalies would often get tossed into an incinerator, which eventually resulted in them turning into a toxic gel. The gel tended to corrupt anything it came into contact with, eventually spreading throughout the facility. So the whole place turned into a nightmare full of dark goop that contained the essence of a bunch of corrupted and angry anomalies. The whole site got so messed up that even Mobile Task Force Tau 5 Samsara can't do all that much about it. In the end, it removed itself from our universe by way of unstable machinery known as the Thresher, and nobody knows really where it ended up. Probably for the best, but who knows when it'll make its way back here. Best not to think about it. Damn, dude, dimensions are daunting. I'm pretty happy exactly where I am, firmly planted in the dimension I'm most familiar with. I don't know about you, but I have no plans of hopping around. So what'd you think of the list? Enough dimensions for you? Too many, perhaps. What's your favorite SCP from another universe? Make sure you let me know down in the comments. Speaking of comments, let's have a look at some of your more windy ones from the top 5 worst horror movies of all time. Carrie Vigwe says, there's a movie called The School that I found extremely boring. With a title like that, it has to be boring. Sloppy Joe says, I tell you a horror story. I ran out of toilet paper after eating Taco Bell. Really living up to your name here, aren't you, Joe? Maybe take a shower once you've finished up. Actalzy says, I think Color Out of Space has redeemed Mr. Cage in the eyes of horror fans. Mandy did it first though. Personally, I think his performance was a lot better in Mandy too. MB says The Bye Bye Man. That movie was painful to try and watch until the end. Every time I'm reminded of that movie, I think of the pee-pee poo-poo man meme. Lindsay Langdon says, wait. Keegan, you like horror? I can't believe you've never brought it up before. You know, in these days and times, I just gotta assume people have fried their short-term memory. Gotta make sure they're constantly up to date, you dig? That's all the time we have for today. Before I make my roller derby debut without any protective gear, make sure to give this video a big thumbs up and subscribe for more fearsome findings. Thanks again to Shudder for sponsoring today's video. Remember, that promo code for a free 30 days is top 5. Thanks for watching, and I'll see you next time.